Welcome to Digital Asset News. Take the top stories in cryptocurrency and digital assets and break them down into bite-sized pieces. Today, got some interesting articles. First up, Ethereum surges by a ton, and here's 3 reasons why. Also, stock rebound, as in the traditional market, is a trap. Go Bitcoin instead, Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz talks about. And this is our second story, and it's going to lead into a third story, which is the craziest story I've ever read in my life. And it goes to show you that it's not what you know, it's who you know. And finally, we'll end up with the scam of the day, which we're going to bring back because we have been slacking on that, and we need to do this because this is the time that people should not be scammed out of their money. So let's jump into today's stories. First up, let's take a look at the market cap, see what's going on. And looks like Bitcoin may end today above 7,000. It is April 7th, I think it is. Yeah, April 7th. And it's about 6 o'clock p.m. at night. I am on the Mountain Time Zone. So this is pretty much going to be the price, which is a pretty good recovery. So we like to see that, right? And Bitcoin, I think today had a high of around 73 or 7,400. Let's take a look here. Yeah, 74.14. So pretty great day for the king of crypto. Ethereum is also jumping up quite tremendously, and we've seen a lot of big price action. Even XRP is actually up. Wow, amazing. And if you don't know, XRP got listed on another exchange. I think it was called Whitebit or something like that. So that's always good news. Let's see if it pays off. Let's see if these gains can continue. However, I got to tell you, me personally, not to bust anybody's bubble, no pun intended, but I do not see this lasting. Look, even though we see that there is a decoupling of cryptocurrency digital assets, the S&P is actually dropping a little bit. Let's take a look at the 5-day for the traditional market. Jumped up, but it's kind of coming down. Here's what happened over a month and then 6 months. We can just see how it's just dropped off the cliff. Little rebound, and then kind of a dump a little bit. And here's why I don't see this lasting. And this is what I talked about in the video yesterday, and the video before that. I just don't see things really moving in a tremendously upwards pattern for either markets. And the reason is because, look, no one's working. We got a lot of people laid off, and a lot of people are collecting unemployment. And then the different the programs that are supposed to be a safety net for small businesses and workers is failing. So they're not getting out the money to the people. It's just becoming a big hassle. And the people that need to be really helped out are not getting helped out. And that's a problem. And if you can just take a look at, we had 6, this is in America. I don't know where you're at right now. I've read some of the comments. I know there's a lot of unemployment, very high. In Canada, for one. Australia is also having issues over there. Europe is definitely a big one. So just here in America, this is our unemployment claims from 1967 to now, and this is last week. So if you can see this, not a lot of people have a lot of money to throw around, and all these safety nets that are supposed to help out, they really haven't kicked in yet, so we will see. Now, I know there's a bunch of people will say, well, this market for cryptocurrency, there's a lot of whales out there, and they're really propping things up, and that's what's going to bring it all together. Yeah, maybe. There's a lot of people out there that do have a ton of money, but I think by and large, there's a lot of different individuals who don't make the $1 million a year, who are in this space like you and me, that don't have that 100, 200, 300,000 just to play around with and just have slush money. At some point, if things economically get worse, there's only so much that we can do. Now, some are better insulated than others, and some are more at risk. But the way I see it is, if you can't work and more people can't work and more businesses shut down, it becomes just a tidal wave effect. And before you know it, there's only so much you can do as far as investments go. Because remember, this is investments. This is a speculative asset. I always see this as being fantastic and definitely higher than the traditional markets moving forward. But in the short term, I don't see good things. Now, let me know what you think in the comments section below, but that's just how I see it. And that's what I got. Let's move into today's stories. So first up, one of my top 6, Ethereum, and just so everybody knows, these are the 6 digital assets I've invested into: Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Chainlink, Cardano, and EOS. I've got my eyes on some other types of assets I'd like to invest into, but I fell into the trap in 2017 when I got in to get like 40 or 50 different coins and different digital assets and cryptocurrencies that I invested into, and just way too much. So I consolidated, and these are the 6 that I'm going with. I may add a couple. I'll tell you when I do, but those are my 6 that I have. So when I see these types of articles, it makes me very bullish. Makes me happy that I've been dollar cost averaging in every single week, buying, Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, those types of things, because I think in the long run, it's going to do great. So the 3 reasons why Ethereum is gaining so much traction. One is DeFi, and I've talked about this before. I think DeFi and gaming is going to really push Ethereum into the stratosphere. DeFi includes any project that uses smart contracts to lend, hedge, or swap assets. There are many blockchain platforms capable of performing these functions, but Ethereum is the dominant player in this position or in this sector. And it's just true. Now, Ethereum is just crushing it right now, especially with MakerDAO, MakerDAO is built on the Ethereum blockchain, so they're going to do well. And it seems like a lot of things are built on Ethereum, and that's why I'm bullish on it, because not everything, but a lot of things are built off of Ethereum and ERC20 token. So to me, I see this as a win-win, and moving forward, I think it's going to be huge. Now, Coinbase is also doing DeFi stuff, but their platform. So yeah, I think Coinbase getting into the whole DeFi type of thing. They have their application. So if Coinbase is in it, now imagine what's going to happen with Binance if they ever get into DeFi, or as they actually progress into it. Look, Binance has already bought CoinMarketCap for a smooth $400 million. They also bought DApp Review, and they just been making big moves. So when they get heavily into DeFi and they start to build things off their Binance chain, whichever project wants to do that, I think it'll be big. Just waiting for that to actually happen. Binance is not the type of company just sit in the sidelines and just kind of go, yeah, I think we'll get into that at some point. They're the kind of players that actually start to buy up things, make acquisitions, and make moves, and that's why I think Binance and BNB coin is actually going to be a big one. Anyhow, the second reason is Ethereum futures have spiked, and if you're big into futures, I personally am not, but that is another platform that you can invest into and have the chance to make a ton of money on BitMEX, or have a chance to get wrecked real fast, which we have seen time and time again. So if you're an investor or if you are a trader, let me know in the comments below how these futures and options have been working out for you, because everybody I talk to, it seems like they just get wrecked left and right. And then I do get the occasional person who goes, I made a ton of money, but it's rare. So I'm just kind of putting out there, what are you doing, how are you doing it, and what's your actual gains over the last 6 months to a year. And finally, and I think this is the biggest one, Serenity upgrade is coming up. So in July 2020, cryptocurrency of Ethereum is slated to undergo its largest upgrade to date, which is Ethereum 2.0, named Serenity. It'll transform the platform from proof of work to proof of stake consensus architecture. So whatever you're holding on to, that's going to secure the platform instead of proof of work. It will also play a key role in Ethereum's scaling solution, thus enabling vastly more transaction capability. And one of the big knocks for a lot of different projects are the TPS, the transactions per second. And that is the one thing that if we can just solve those issues, we can actually start to compete with the bigger players like Visa, MasterCard, all those different types of platforms. So if we're getting out there and we can do that, fantastic. So we're going to go from proof of stake or proof of work to proof of stake. Now we're going to actually scale as far as transaction speed, and I like to hear that. Now, that's it for the article, but I will say this. Ethereum has a problem sometimes with meeting deadlines. I mean, they're not as bad as Cardano. Cardano is awful. They're always like, okay, it's coming. All right, next year. All right, next year. And then it just rarely materializes. But with Ethereum, they're not far behind. They do make some promises, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be July. But then they're going to come out and say, well, by the end of 2020. And then they're going to say, first quarter of 2021. And it just keeps getting pushed back and pushed back. Now, will it happen for Serenity? Not for sure. But if history is any type of teacher, probably. Anyhow, those are my thoughts on Ethereum. But there are some final things. And this was, I was asked by a subscriber. He actually reached out to me on Twitter, which if you don't follow me on Twitter, not a big deal. Go ahead and give that a whirl. It's in the description. But he asked me, he was a younger guy, and he said, he's like, Dan, if I only have 25 or 40 bucks to invest a week, maybe every 2 weeks, because it's just getting by. He goes, what would you recommend in cryptocurrency? And first of all, I never recommend for anybody to do anything that I do. I'm not a financial advisor, but I say, man, if it was me and I'm just starting out and I'm in my 20s, early 20s, and I've only got 25 or 40 bucks, I wouldn't put it in Bitcoin. I just wouldn't. I mean, I may put a little bit just to get to my like 0.10 in case it goes up to $1 million, because you never know. It's cryptocurrency. But if I want to look at the history of, what has gone where, Ethereum right now is at 164. I believe that the all-time high was around 1340, 1380. Let's see. 1380, yeah. 1395, so about $1,400. So if you're looking right now today and you're at $164, if you could put, I don't know, 40 bucks in, so in like a month, you're gonna have one full Ethereum, and then let's say it goes up to, that $1,400. So from 164 to 13, that's like almost like 9x. That's pretty good money. Now, if you do the same thing with Bitcoin, you put 40 bucks in, and then you have 160 bucks into Bitcoin. How much is that going to be worth, percentage-wise? I mean, it's not going to do much for you, because if Bitcoin just gets back to its original all-time high of 20,000. Right now, it's at 7. That's just like what is that? Like 2x, a little bit more of 2x. So not a big deal. So with me, I always think, well, if I was younger and wanted to invest in something, I would go with Ethereum. If I want to, get my type of investment back, I don't see how that could not work out. I mean, maybe Ethereum goes to 0. Who knows? But when you have these types of things going on, the upgrades happening, decentralized finance, Ethereum futures, everything that's being built on Ethereum, ERC20, I mean, this is a $10,000 coin. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Ethereum's a $10,000 coin. It has so much use. With this Ethereum 2.0, it's scalable now. I mean, it's a good project. I don't see how it can't take off. I mean, at least at the minimum, I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't think it can go to 1,400 in the next bull run. I mean, is that unrealistic for it to do that? So that would be like, which would be like essentially 10x, 9x. So that would be essentially for the next bull run for Bitcoin going to what, 70,000 from right now. So, and that's like what a lot of analysts have said, 70 to 100,000. So yeah, I suppose so. But I think there's more of an up, that's a major one. That's all-time high plus. So if it was me, Ethereum. Let's move on. Stock rebound is a trap. Go Bitcoin instead. Galaxy Digital CEO. This is Mike Novogratz, our guy. Although I will say this, Novogratz has been down a little bit in the dumps about it. I remember a couple days ago, he said that if Bitcoin doesn't pop for this next bull run, he might have to hang up his spurs and essentially get out of trading and investing into Bitcoin. But today, he seems pretty happy. Novogratz, CEO of crypto merchant bank Galaxy Digital, told CNBC's Squawk on the Street that investors shouldn't be misled by the recent spike in stock prices. Instead, buying non-stock assets, including cryptocurrency and gold, will be the right approach. And I got to tell you, when I first got in 2017, I heard about this guy, Peter Schiff. I thought I was a big a-hole in the beginning. But in all honesty, he's just a great marketer. He just is. You can't deny that. And even on Pompliano's show, the Pomp, for his podcast, this was about a week ago or so, he was actually said, finally, he said, yeah, Bitcoin's going to do well. And he was actually bullish on it. And he said over the next 2 years, it should do really well. And he said, I don't know about the long term, but that was it. So when I heard that, it kind of shifted my thinking to be like, if we're talking about store of value and where we want to go as far as the future, I see gold and silver as a pretty good play. It's been around for thousands of years. No one can, dispute that. And Bitcoin is kind of like the new player on the block. So if you could just kind of mesh those together and just go, yeah, if you want store of value, you can go traditional. Like if I was a financial analyst or a financial planner and someone came to me and go, look, if you want to do something, here's gold and silver, which has been done pretty well over the last, 1,000 years or something like that. And it's actually increased. And of course, there's numbers that go along with that, but it's safe. It's a safe type of play. However, there's Bitcoin, and it has beat every single asset last year and over the last 2 to 3 years. Every single asset. It's beat the S&P 500. It's beat oil. It's beat gold. It's beat silver. Everything. And there's a halving coming up in May. And after that, it's going to be more scarce, or because there's only a finite amount of 21 million. I think you should put your money in this. So I always think, like, logically, gold, silver, and Bitcoin all together in that basket, and that would take care of all of your needs. But that's just me. Anyhow, but all this thing that Mike was talking about, Novogratz, about how you should get out of stocks is exactly what Robert Kiyosaki said in my video 2 days ago. He pretty much said that the reason why the stock market is pumping is it's pumping because all these rich people are pumping it up so they can do a nice little exit scam on everybody. He said, you're being played. And so now we've got Mike Novogratz saying it, but that's no big surprise. But also we had the Goldman Sachs chief equity strategist says, hey, beware, because there's a huge downside to this. And what he essentially says is things are going to crash. And to me, it just makes sense. Of course it's going to crash. All this different money that we're being printed, that's being put out by the Fed, the unemployment rate, the business is going under. How can this possibly stand on these deck of cards? There's just no way it can do that. Anyhow. All right. So Mike says, I think this is short covering. I think 1 or 2 more days and people will sell into it, the billionaire said. Then he suggests that the fiat supply is growing on steroids. Could not agree more. And the Fed is pumping trillions to save the U.S. economy. Money's growing on trees. And I learned when I was a little kid that money doesn't really grow on trees. When you have a global money printing orgy going on, that's funny, which is going to lead to our next story. At one point, that comes home to roost. And so I think hard assets are going to be a big buy. Novogratz included. And I couldn't agree more. I think as time goes on, rich are going to take the money out. Robert Kiyosaki, who's the rich dad, poor dad guy, I mean, I'm pretty sure, I think he's a billionaire by now. But he even said, he goes, yeah, the rich, they're taking the money out. Or, they're pumping it up, but they're going to take it out. And they're going to put it in gold and silver. Also, he said in his latest tweet on April 4th or 5th, he said, buy gold, silver, Bitcoin. I mean, can you get any easier than that? It makes sense to me. So the question then was, well, should you listen to Novogratz? And I mean, he's been a cheerleader for a long time. Sure, go for it. But this is where it gets a little crazy. The interesting thing about Novogratz is that he has big connections on Wall Street, and his voice might reflect the mood of some of his fellows from the financial elite. And I can just tell you right now, it is not what you know, it is who you know. All deals that I have ever gotten done are usually in a restaurant, some back office, drinking, those types of things, and just shooting it and going, look, we're going to do this or not. And things get done or they don't get done. It's not a very formal type of thing. Things move in the background when people don't watch. And that's how businesses work for the most part. That's just how it is. But this story essentially gets to that main point. He says, for example, the billionaire is a member of Kappa Beta Phi, a very secretive Wall Street organization that has been around for about a century. The society, whose recruits are dressed in drag and ridiculed by veterans, including top execs and officials like former New York City Mayor Mike Bloomberg and BlackRock CEO Lawrence Fink. Interesting, BlackRock was hired by the Fed to buy corporate bonds and other assets on behalf of the U.S. Treasury. Again, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you run in these circles, you get a groupthink. And lo and behold, things just kind of work out. So I'm going to leave the link to this story in the description below. And what had happened was a reporter somehow snuck into this secret society, this Kappa Beta Phi, and the stories are just outlandish. And then there's one that Mike Novogratz. Anyhow, I'm not even gonna read it. I'll let you read it. It's just fascinating, but it just goes to prove my point that it's all about who you know. So that's it for today's story. So thanks for sticking with the rants. Really appreciate it. If you got time, stick with me for 2 minutes. We're gonna go over a scam today. We haven't done this in a long time, so I'm very optimistic we can get some things done. So first of all, scam of the day. We did this because too many scams out there. We've done pretty well. For the most part. Started in January, we removed all these scams. Everybody's happy. Great. I'm not happy though, because there's all these scams left. There's no reason why they should be left. So this year's going to be big. Coronavirus, unfortunately, is huge right now, and it is destroying people's lives or ending them. So there's no reason why these scammers should be allowed to operate. They are out there screwing people out of their money. And right now, with what we just saw with the unemployment rate, businesses going down, economic downturn going to be even worse, there's no reason why these scammers should take people's hard-earned money. So let's do what we're supposed to do and help out our community. So here's what I want you to do. You're going to click on this button. It's going to take you to a scam. First of all, don't take my word for it. Scams are very easy to find. They're called asymmetrical giveaways, and it's crap like this. If you send me 1 Bitcoin, you'll be airdropped 5 Bitcoin. If you send me 5 Bitcoin, you'll be airdropped 20 Bitcoin. No one does that. You're not special, okay? And if you don't believe me, this is from Binance. Just email Binance and go, hey, you guys giving away free Bitcoin? Because I saw it. Ripple, Gemini, Bitfinex, I don't know, wherever that you trade at. Just send them an email and say, hey, are you doing this? Give them 24 hours to get back to you. They'll tell you no. Also, you can check the comments and you can see what people say. Hey, there's mine. And yeah, so here's what I want you to do. Downvote it. I dislike this. And then we're going to report it. So we're going to click on these 3 dots here. Click report. And we're going to say this is spam. We're going to say go. What is this? Oh, choose one. Scams and fraud. Then click next. Then I'm going to say, this is the scam. It is an asymmetrical giveaway. I can't spell. Asymmetrical giveaway. Whatever. And just report. They'll get the idea. And that's it. So there's 4 of those. If you could do that, great. If you can do 1, that would be fantastic. Just 1 is great. If you can do all 4, I'd love it. That'd be just the best. So that's it for today's video. So thanks for sticking with me all the way to the end. You're a lifesaver. Thanks. I appreciate it. And if you like this type of videos, there's going to be 2 that's going to come up on the left and right. I'm going to link the one with Robert Kiyosaki. That seems to be the big one. I think we're coming up on like close to 80,000 views on that one. People seem to, that resonates with a lot of people. So let me know what you think. And that's it. So thanks for watching. See you on the next one.
Just contact Goldman.
Bye.